On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla and EV podcast, Tesla has reintroduced the long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y, and the Juniper version of it offers incredible value. Plus, there's good news and bad news for Cybertruck owners. Rivian ramps up in Illinois to prepare for the R2, and more. What's happening, friends? Ryan McCaffrey alongside Daisy the Boxer, who is currently taking a break on the couch in my home office here with me, while out in the living room, my daughter plays with Lily the Labrador puppy, and Zelina. Yes, Zelina is staying with us for this week. Her family had a trip that they could not bring their service dog along on, so we are so grateful to have some unexpected Zelina time this week. So that is awesome. It is dog-tastic here in the McCaffrey household. It's also frog-tastic, as you can hear from my voice. I want to apologize to you for how I sound this week. As you know, I do not take sick days, sick weeks on this podcast. I'm here every single week for you. I put out an episode. But this week, I was under the weather pretty much all week. Starting on Monday is really when it came on. It's just a cold or something. No big deal. It's flipped from I sound fine but feel kind of lousy to now I sound lousy but feel pretty much fine. So I will get through this podcast the best I can, and I do appreciate you giving me a little grace this week. All right, a quick appetizer to get things started, and appetizer being quite the appropriate word. We learned a little tidbit about the upcoming Tesla Diner drive-in supercharger that's currently nearing the end of construction in Hollywood. This comes courtesy of Not a Tesla app, who I've sourced here before. They got some photos from the site in Hollywood where things are looking very, very close to completion. There are things on the walls, there's signage up, and to that end, we now know the official name from the front door is, in fact, Tesla Diner. Just keeping it simple. And then the little tidbit that we learned is the sign on the door that says, open 24/7. So we didn't know the hours before, now we know it will never close. So in that sense, being 24/7, it will be a true diner. And as I've said every time I've been talking about this recently, this project, I just can't wait to see the menu. I'm really, really curious to see what they're going to be serving. And then I do want to make my way down there to sample it all, to go test it out. Next up this week, if you've taken delivery of a new Model Y, and I'm talking specifically about a general production version of the new Model Y, so not the launch series, then I've got good news for you if you're someone who, like me, has the need for speed. And no, it's not the introduction of the Performance Model Y, the new Performance Y. I'm going to take a guess there that we probably see the new Performance Y next quarter in Q3. But for you fellow speed freaks, the new general production Model Y now has acceleration boost available as a software unlock through your Tesla app. Now, the reason that I'm excluding the launch series folks here is because, well, all of you already have it. The acceleration boost was part of the package with the launch series. So if you've got a general production long-range all-wheel drive Model Y, which for this very moment is still the only variant you can actually buy, the only variant that's on the road, because you can actually buy another one, which I'll get to here in a second. But it is $2,000 should you want to purchase that, and it will knock your 0 to 60 time down to 4.2 seconds, which is pretty darn quick for a mid-size crossover EV, or SUV, I should say, not EV. EVs are used to going quick. A mid-size crossover SUV, that's what I meant to say. So have fun out there, friends, for those of you that are interested in unlocking that. Heck, pause the podcast right now and just go in your app and unlock it and take your car out for a drive. Go have fun. Speaking of the new Model Y, and as I alluded to a moment ago, Great news for everybody that is considering buying the new Model Y. The long-range rear-wheel drive is now available, giving you 2 flavors of Juniper to choose from. The new long-range rear-wheel drive is $45,000 before the tax credit, or, should you qualify, $37,500 out the door, which that's pretty nuts, considering how great of a car the Model Y is, and a long-range version of it as well. And it is quite long-range, too, because it packs a very impressive 357 miles of range. That is the longest range Model Y ever, and it's 30 more miles of range than the long-range all-wheel drive. And it's only $2,500 more than the long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3, which to me, with that small of an amount of a discrepancy there, seems like it's going to push a lot of people that are kind of considering either car. 3Y, which way do we want to go? $2,500 more for the Y and the just vast amounts of extra cargo space you get in it. I think that's going to push a lot of folks towards the Model Y. Now, the most notable trade-off compared to the all-wheel drive Model Y is, of course, the 0 to 60 time, which is a good bit slower. The rear-wheel drive is 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds versus 4.6 seconds for the dual motor. Now, interestingly, unlike the long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3, the long-range rear-wheel drive Y has the same number of speakers as the all-wheel drive, the same sound system, in other words. So it's really just more range in exchange for no all-wheel drive and a slower sprint to 60 miles an hour, which, to be honest, I would expect Model Y buyers are, generally speaking, less sensitive to that and less likely to really care about the slower 0 to 60 time than a Model 3 buyer might be. And as such, I have to say my honest opinion, and it's just an opinion, but I think for most buyers, I would definitely recommend the long-range rear-wheel drive over the all-wheel drive. In fact, I decided to make this the subject of this week's Patreon poll, which again is free to vote in every week. I usually post the poll on Tuesday evenings specifically. All you got to do is cruise on by my Patreon page, which is found at patreon.com/Tesla podcast, and you'll see the poll question. You don't have to be supporting me or anything on Patreon to vote. Just stop by, cast your vote. So this week's poll question was, which new Model Y variant would you be most interested in buying? So I laid out all of the choices, both present and likely future. So we had the long-range rear-wheel drive, that's that new one, the long-range all-wheel drive that they've been selling, the upcoming performance version, the upcoming smaller Model Y, smaller, cheaper Model Y, and then I put in the rumored, in parentheses, rumored longer wheelbase 3-row Model Y that I talked about last week, and the last poll choice was simply, I'm not interested in the new Model Y, and I do apologize. I absolutely should have made one of the selections. I already own the new Model Y, so my bad on that. But in any case, 37% of you, it was pretty convincing victory here for this poll choice. 37% voted for the long-range all-wheel drive, with just 10% voting long-range rear-wheel drive. So you might say, well, Ryan, what do you know? And I still stand by what I said. I'm not trying to disagree with any of you. I just think the folks that are listening to this, you're all awesome because you're listening to a Tesla podcast by some crazy guy in San Francisco who does this every single week. And I think you folks listening are probably just more likely to, you're enthusiasts. You're more likely to want more bells and whistles, right? Whether it's the all-wheel drive or the performance. In fact, the performance variant took 15% of the vote, so that was the next most popular response, other than I'm not interested in the Y, the new Y, which was 16%. But so 37% said long-range all-wheel drive, 15% said the upcoming Model Y performance, 13% of you did vote for the rumored longer wheelbase 3-row Model Y, which, if it even does come to fruition, we don't know if it'll be sold in the United States, but decided to include it in this poll anyway. And then, again, 10% of you said the long-range rear-wheel drive that's just been reintroduced. And then 8% of you voted for the smaller Model Y. So thanks to everybody that kindly took the time to vote. Lots of votes this week, which is always awesome to see. Next up this week, we have good news and bad news for Cybertruck owners. I'll start with the good news, and it's specifically for general production Cybertruck owners. I'm excluding the Foundation Series buyers here because the thing I'm about to talk about, which is FSD, you folks already have it. It came with your Foundation Series truck. So for general production Cybertruck owners that did not already purchase FSD outright, you are getting a free year-long trial, a 12-month trial of FSD. Thank you very much to longtime listener Bill from Wisconsin, who forwarded me the email that was sent out to all of the affected Cybertruck owners. It reads, the subject is, your 1-year free FSD trial is here. With the message reading, your Cybertruck, VIN whatever, is eligible for a free 1-year full self-driving supervised trial. As we improve our autopilot technology, our feature sets will change. Accordingly, auto steer will not be available for Cybertruck outside of full self-driving supervised. We encourage you to experience our latest version of full self-driving supervised to immerse yourself in the power of its innovation. As a thank you for being an early Cybertruck adopter, we are offering you a free 1-year trial of full self-driving supervised. In order to qualify for the 1-year trial, you'll need to subscribe to FSD Supervised by June 6th using the link below. You can cancel your subscription at any time, and you will still receive the 1-year trial. Well, a 1-year free trial is awesome. I say good on Tesla for taking care of the folks who've bought the Cybertruck so far. But for me, there's got to be more to this. They're not just doing this for no reason. So I'm going to make a little prediction right now, and maybe I'm a boy who cried wolf at this point. However, I'm going to go back to the well here because this to me seems like a precursor to a big Cybertruck price cut. Yes, the same one I've been predicting for quite a while now that has yet to come to fruition. And the reason I think that is because, well, I think they're trying to soften the blow of a substantial price cut on the Cybertruck for those existing Cybertruck owners that paid the current price by offering them this gift, if you will, first before cutting the price, so that when that price cut gets handed down, they're maybe not quite as stung. They don't feel quite as stung by it. So my new prediction with this new piece of information is that this price cut will happen sometime before the next earnings call in July, really about 2 months from now, almost exactly. So we'll see what happens. And in fact, there's something else interesting here as well. And that is this. Tesla is straight up telling us that there will be no basic autopilot on the Cybertruck, and thus nothing included for free with the truck other than traffic adaptive cruise control. So yeah, no form of autopilot at all. So my question is this going to be unique to the Cybertruck because of its very unique architecture compared to the other vehicles? And by that, of course, I mean the steer-by-wire technology and the rear-wheel steering. Or is this a harbinger of the now very old autopilot software stack being put out to pasture on all the cars, and thus Tesla getting rid of basic autopilot and making the setup FSD or bust? I guess there's a third, more optimistic scenario that I would love to see come to fruition, and that is that Tesla is going to phase out the very old, not updated in forever basic autopilot stack, but that they estimate that they're a year away from having a basic autopilot that's a stripped down version of the current stack, the FSD stack. And maybe they just think, okay, well, we'll give them this free trial, and then by the time that's up, we'll have a new version of basic autopilot that we can push out to all the not just all the Cybertruck owners, to the entire fleet, potentially. At least if you have hardware 4 for sure, and then it would be a TBD on a hardware 3 situation. But I also do think it's every bit as possible that the basic autopilot stack is just going to go away, and that it's going to be FSD or nothing on the cars going forward. I mean, we know Tesla's they're not putting in any more work on that old version. In fact, they haven't in years as it is, at least from what any of us can tell. So perhaps it's a thing where as they introduce new cars like the Cybertruck, it just might not make sense to try and crowbar the rickety old basic autopilot into new cars that have, a new camera setup with the front bumper, all that kind of thing. All right, now, unfortunately, we flip the coin here over to the other side, where we get to the not as great Tesla news as a free 1-year trial of FSD. Tesla has confirmed what I had suspected when they removed the Cybertruck range extender from their website. They have confirmed that they are, in fact, not going to be making any range extenders. The good news here is that those who'd put down non-refundable deposits were sent an email that said, "Update to your Cybertruck range extender order. Thank you for being a Cybertruck owner. We are no longer planning to sell the range extender for Cybertruck. As a result, we will be refunding your deposit in full. The amount will be returned to the original payment method used for the transaction. Thank you for your understanding, the Tesla team." Well, I'm glad that they are doing the right thing and refunding those non-refundable deposits. I would imagine that Tesla either didn't get as many deposits on the range extender as they expected, or they simply haven't sold as many Cybertrucks as they expected, and thus the ROI on this project no longer seemed worthwhile to them for how many range extender orders they actually got. Or, I suppose the third option is that neither of the previous two things I just said are relevant to the cancellation of the project at all, and instead, it's simply that the macroeconomic environment has changed, i.e., Tesla's had a tough year, we know that, and so they decided to simply allocate their resources elsewhere rather than spend any of those resources on a battery program that's only going to go into what I would imagine was a 3-figure number of trucks. I mean, I don't actually know. We know they've sold, roughly 50,000 Cybertrucks so far, maybe a few more. But of those, I mean, how many of them had actually put a deposit down and were going to buy the range extender? I mean, it's got to be fewer than 10%. I mean, 10% would be 5,000. 1% would be 500. Maybe it would be 1%. I don't know. Only Tesla knows. But what we know now is that they do not intend to build they're not building the range extender. That's it. And so, if we look at Tesla history as a whole, it turns out there are 2 battery hardware upgrades in Tesla history. The first one I had told you about the last time that this had come up, when it was scrubbed from the website and I was talking about this. So there's the $30,000 R80 battery pack upgrade for the original Roadster, which is still available. And then the other one, I admit I had completely forgotten about, and I have no excuse because this happened during the era of the podcast. So I probably talked about it on the podcast and somehow managed to completely forget about it. I want to say thank you to longtime listener Zubin for pointing me. He even provided a web archive link to the article about it as proof. Not that I didn't believe him, but there it was. I went and looked at the old archived article, and it's the other battery upgrade is a $20,000 upgrade from the P90D S and X to the P100D. And this was from 2016. So Tesla, if you'd just taken delivery of a P90D and then the P100D came along and you wanted that instead, well, Tesla would replace your entire battery pack for $20,000. And if you're wondering, well, why would anyone do that? I mean, sure, there was a bit of a range bump, but the primary reason was it was a pretty substantial performance jump at the time. I believe it took the 0 to 60 from 2.8 seconds down to 2.5, which might not sound like much, but that's actually a lot when you're getting down that low. So there were a few people that took Tesla up on that. So there were so far in the course of Tesla history, there have been 2 battery upgrade programs, but there will not be a third, at least not from the Cybertruck with a range extender. By the way, I hope all of you who are kindly supporting me on Patreon at that $10 per month tier or higher, that's the most popular tier, I hope all of you enjoyed this week's Lightning Round mini episode. I do these every single week on Patreon for anybody supporting at that $10 tier or higher. This week's topic was a roundup of the mostly new EV startups. And I've touched on 1 or 2 of them in recent weeks here on the podcast, but I thought I would dig in a little bit more and talk to you about 5 of them to be specific. So if you're curious to hear that, as well as the other 140-something Lightning Round mini episodes, you can support me on Patreon at that $10 per month tier, where you'll not only get access to all of those weekly Lightning Round mini episodes, you'll get an ad-free episode every week, and you'll get early access to that ad-free episode every week. Again, that is on my Patreon page, found at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. There's also an annual pledge option. If you're like, I don't really want to do a month-to-month thing, but I'd love to support you. Can I just do like a once-a-year deal? Yes, you can do an annual pledge. And as a thank you for doing that, for making that commitment, I offer you a 10% discount on any annual pledge. Again, patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. Next up this week, thank you to longtime listener and longtime Patreon supporter Stefan from Monterey for sending this one in. It comes from Autoblog, who writes, New York senator introduces bill that would shut down Tesla showrooms. So here's their story. They write, a New York senator has introduced a bill that would eliminate a legislative waiver allowing Tesla to operate 5 showrooms in the state independently instead of selling vehicles through franchise dealerships. In 2014, New York State passed a law barring automakers from selling cars directly to consumers, but Tesla was notably exempted. The exception stemmed from some lawmakers' desire to reduce the nation's dependence on fossil fuels. New York Senator Patricia Fahey, F-A-H-Y, Fay? I'm probably Fay. All right. Apologies, Senator. I'm going to go with Fay, who previously served in the New York State Assembly from 2013 to 2024, had offered consistent support for Tesla. However, Fay's change of heart was motivated by her view that Tesla CEO Elon Musk wasn't promoting a green energy transformation as a senior advisor to President Trump. The New York Times reports that Fay described Musk as, quote, part of an administration that is killing all the grant funding for electric vehicle infrastructure, killing wind energy, killing anything that might address climate change. Why should we give them a monopoly? End quote. Senator Fay is working to remove Tesla's waiver to sell vehicles independently in New York by 2026, citing the exemption as an unfair advantage. If passed, the bill would result in Tesla's 5 licenses to sell cars in the state directly to consumers being redistributed to other EV makers. If this bill passes, drivers wanting to purchase a Tesla would have to travel out of state. In March, Musk responded to a social media post from Fay saying it was, quote, improper for lawmakers to target a single person or company, end quote, according to the Daily Beast. New York Senator Jacob Ashby expressed a similar sentiment, telling Teslarati that, quote, political disdain seems to be more at play, end quote. All right, so here's my problem with this. Setting aside however you feel about Elon Musk, or however even a legislator, and whatever. There is a really, really, really easy solution here that doesn't have to punish Tesla or its potential customers in the state of New York, when clearly, by her own admission, this lawmaker is just mad about Elon. So are you ready for the simple answer? Because if you're listening, New York state legislators, despite my shredded voice right now, I'm about to blow your mind with this solution. Ready? Okay, here we go. Just give the other EV automakers exemptions too. Wow. See, was that so hard? Now you give the exemption to other automakers, EV automakers, and suddenly Tesla doesn't have a, quote, monopoly, as you put it, and customers can have easier access to more environmentally friendly vehicles from the likes of Rivian and Lucid and others. Now, I know what you're going to say is that the dealership lobby won't go along with this. Well, guess what? And by the way, I'm still talking to you, New York state legislators. I'm not talking to my audience right now, because they all know better. I'm talking to you, New York state legislators. So you legislators might be like, well, the dealership lobby's not really going to go along with this. To which I say, it is your job to figure it out for the good of your constituents. I mean, I get it. You created this exemption back in 2014 when Tesla was the only direct-to-consumer automaker out there. So how about instead of punishing Tesla, you do the work you need to do to get Rivian and Lucid into your state instead of letting your feelings about Elon drive you to kick Tesla out of your state. Because you can feel the way you feel about him. It's fine. But if you look at Tesla, the company, as a whole, it is a net good. It is absolutely promoting a green energy transformation, and not with words or policy or political talk. Tesla is promoting a green energy transformation by doing the work, by getting millions of cars on the road each year and trying to transition, our climate, our economy, our environment to sustainable energy. So that's my solution for the New York state legislators, is instead of looking at Tesla as a problem, look at them as just one part of the solution and go to work on bringing in and making life easier for the other solutions out there, the Rivians, the Lucids, etc. I've got a couple of other EV news stories now to talk to you about before I get to your phone calls in the Ride the Lightning hotline. And this one requires me to thank another listener submitted story this week. Love to see that. That's super appreciated. An original Ride the Lightning listener, in fact, Lawton from Chicago, sent me this really excellent article from Vox that I wanted to read you. And I guess this does involve Tesla. It involves everybody working on driver assistance, self-driving stuff. And the headline is "The Life or Death Case for Self-Driving Cars." And the author writes, "I have some bad news. You're almost certainly a worse driver than you think you are. Humans drive distracted, they drive drowsy, they drive angry, and worst of all, they drive impaired far more often than they should. Even when we're firing on all cylinders, our Stone Age adapted brains are often no match for the speed and complexity of high-speed driving. There's as much as a 2.5-second lag between what we perceive and how fast we can react in a vehicle traveling 60 miles an hour, which means a car will travel the equivalent of 2 basketball court lengths before its driver can even hit the brake. The result of this very human fallibility is blood on the streets. Nearly 1.2 million people die in road crashes globally each year, enough to fill 9 jumbo jets each day. Here in the U.S., the government estimates there were over 39,000 traffic fatalities in 2024, which adds up to a bus's worth of people perishing every 12 hours. The good news is there are much, much better drivers coming online, and they have everything human drivers don't. They don't need sleep, they don't get angry, they don't get drunk, and their brains can handle high-speed decision-making with ease, because they're AI. The average American adult will spend around 3 years of their life driving. If robots could take the wheel instead, well, think of all the Netflix shows we could stream instead. But the true benefit of a self-driving revolution will be in lives saved. And new data from the autonomous vehicle company Waymo suggests that those savings could be very great indeed. In a peer-reviewed study that is set to be published in the journal Traffic Injury Prevention, Waymo analyzed the safety performance of its autonomous vehicles over the course of 56.7 million miles driven in Austin, LA, Phoenix, and San Francisco, all without a human safety driver present to take the wheel in an emergency. They then compared that data to human driving safety over the same number of miles driven on the same kind of roads. The results of the study, almost certainly the biggest and most comprehensive research on self-driving car safety yet released, are striking. Compared to human drivers, the Waymo self-driving cars had 81% fewer airbag deploying crashes, 85% fewer crashes with suspected serious or worse injuries, 96% fewer injury crashes at intersections, primarily because Waymo detects other cars running red lights faster than humans, and 92% fewer crashes that involve injuries to pedestrians. Had the typical human-driven fleet of cars covered those same 56.7 million miles, the Waymo researchers project it would have resulted in an estimated 181 additional injury crashes, 78 additional airbag crashes, and 11 extra serious injury crashes. But the numbers really get eye-popping when you extended this data across all 3.3 trillion vehicle miles driven by humans in the US in a typical year. Back-of-the-envelope calculations suggest that if the same 85% reduction seen in serious crashes held true for fatal ones, a big if to be clear, since the study had too few fatal events to measure, we'd save approximately 34,000 lives a year. That's 5 times the number of Americans who died in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars combined. Of course, there are plenty of caveats to the Waymo study and even more obstacles before we could ever achieve anything like what's outlined above. In part because serious injury crashes are thankfully very rare, even 56.7 million miles isn't long enough for researchers to be really sure that such crashes would occur significantly less often with robot drivers, so more data will be needed there. Waymo's cars were also being driven largely in warm, sunny locations, operating in geofenced areas that had been heavily mapped by the company. It's far less certain how they might do in, let's say, the snowy streets of Boston in the winter. This is also a company-run study, though it has been peer-reviewed by outside experts. And even if we decided to go all in on AI drivers, actually producing enough autonomous vehicles to begin to replace human-driven cars and trucks would be an enormous undertaking, to say the least. Still, the data looks so good and the death toll on our roads is so high that I'd argue slowing down autonomous vehicles is actually costing lives. And there's a risk that's precisely what will happen. So that's about it. But you get the point here. And that is that bias against any robot-related injuries or death. That is what I was talking about last week. Because it's just... that's where we are. It's just like a psychological thing where there is that blockade, if you will. Because I'll just read you one extra little bit here. Too often, the public focuses on unusual outlier events with self-driving cars, while the carnage that occurs thanks to human drivers on a daily basis is simply treated as background noise. That's an example of 2 common psychological biases: availability bias, which causes us to judge risk by outlier events that jump easily to mind, and base rate neglect, where we ignore the underlying frequency of events. This misapprehension is something I often see in news coverage and consumption. The result is that public opinion has been turning against self-driving cars in recent years to the point where vandals have attacked autonomous vehicles on the street. And of course, given that nearly 5 million Americans make their living primarily through driving, any wide-scale movement to self-driving vehicles would bring significant economic disruption. But still, 34,000 lives saved on an annual basis would represent tremendous progress. Maybe after about 100 years of trying, it's time to give something else a chance behind the wheel. But I just thought that was a really good piece. So thank you to Lawton for sending that to me. I wanted to share that with you. And again, although this data was from Waymo, the reason I think it's relevant here with Tesla is because it stands to reason that Tesla's data should look fairly similar, at least at first, where, like Waymo, Tesla with their driverless robotaxis will operate in those similar warm weather, geo-fenced areas like Austin, Palo Alto, San Francisco, etc. And I think the point here to be made about Tesla that the author pointed out about scalability is that Tesla can bring the scale that Waymo currently can't. So hopefully Tesla's data will be able to augment and complement and support Waymo's data and help drive the adoption of life-saving autonomous driving technology forward. That's really the point I wanted to get at here, is that Waymo's put this study together and that Tesla stands to really corroborate it, basically, and also help it get to the next level. And I can't wait to see that starting, well, maybe even in just a month or so here out in Austin. And the last story that I have for you this week is about Rivian. Rivian to build a $120 million supplier park in Illinois to support R2 production. I saw this story on Drive Tesla Canada, who writes, Rivian is investing $120 million to build a 1.2 million square foot supplier park next to its manufacturing facility in Normal, Illinois, as it prepares to ramp up production of its next generation R2 electric SUV. The supplier park, already under construction, will allow component manufacturers to co-locate near Rivian's main plant, enabling faster delivery of parts and lowering logistics costs. The company also plans to build a tunnel connecting the new park directly to its production floor, streamlining operations while keeping traffic off local roads. Rivian currently produces its R1T, R1S, and electric delivery vans at the Normal facility, employing approximately 8,000 people. The new R2, a more affordable electric SUV, is scheduled to enter production in the first half of 2026. The company is currently expanding its Normal factory to accommodate the new addition to the lineup. The supplier park is expected to create at least 100 direct Rivian jobs and potentially hundreds more as suppliers set up operations. The facility joins a growing list of investments Rivian has made in Normal, supported by $827 million in previously announced state incentives tied to the upcoming R2 model. Well, I just wanted to share this because it's great news. It's just awesome to hear this. And I'm so glad to see the state of Illinois embrace Rivian as California had in the early days of Tesla. And it's just super cool to see Rivian kind of take a bit of a page from Tesla's book, generally speaking, in terms of their quest to get everything as close together as possible for maximum efficiency and cost reduction, and then kind of take a page from Tesla's book in a more specific way by digging a tunnel under the supplier building and the production floor, Boring Company style, in order to make those logistics as physically direct as possible. So super cool stuff here. And I really hope Rivian's able to get the R2 out next year, as I know a lot of people out there are very excited about the R2. Personally, I like that they kept the same design language as the R1, and that the R2 is basically just a smaller R1. People like the R1. It's regarded as a good-looking vehicle. It's attractive. People like it. And I think I think Rivian should have a lot of interest if they can get the R2 out next year without much delay and, more importantly, at a reasonable price.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
Before I get to your phone calls in the Ride the Lightning hotline, I want to remind you that Ride the Lightning is brought to you in part by Accelerate Auto and their XCare extended warranty option for EVs. These folks are redefining the electric car extended warranty. They are looking ahead, trying to build for the future of this kind of thing. Why model it after the old way when you can start from the ground up? I mean, that's what Tesla did. In fact, these folks that started XCare, started Accelerate Auto, are ex-Tesla employees themselves. So, clean sheet, right? Clean sheet design. It's what innovative organizations do. And that's why the folks at Accelerate Auto developed XCare, a comprehensive extended warranty designed exclusively for EVs. They also, while they were at it, re-engineered the entire customer service experience because, hey, we all know how bad that can be. So, by the way, your policy, if you want to get an extended warranty on your EV, it can be anywhere from an extra 2 years, 25,000 miles, to 10 years and 125,000 extra miles, or anywhere in between. I have a 3-year, 40,000 additional mile policy on our 2018 Model 3 Performance, and that has been super great to have the peace of mind. I've used it 2 or 3 times. The experience has been painless, submitting those claims and getting reimbursed quickly. So I definitely can speak as a satisfied customer here on this. So there's one other key piece of info that's worth passing along about XCare, and that is the most expensive component in the car, your high voltage battery. If you just want to cover the high voltage battery in the drive unit, your vehicle may qualify for that coverage as well. Or you could potentially add it onto your regular general policy as well. It's just, the point is, it's all very customizable. And because you're a Ride the Lightning listener, you get $100 off when you select, for whichever policy you put together for yourself, whatever makes sense for you, you get $100 off when you select XCare's one-time payment option. Use the discount code LIGHTNING at accelerateauto.com. That's XCELERATEAUTO.com/XCARE, or click the link in the episode description. And we've reached the part of the podcast where I get to hear from you guys. It's the Ride the Lightning hotline, where you can call in and have a chance to be featured on an upcoming episode. There are 2 ways that you can call in. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, record your question. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many callers each week as possible. And then email that file to me at my podcast email address, which is teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can take that same 90-second or less call and just call in and leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline. You can dial me up anytime, toll free. The number is 1-888-989-8752. That number again is 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special out there with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. And right now, let's kick things off by hearing from David in Salt Lake City.
Hey Ryan, really love the podcast for about 8 years now. I've been traveling a lot this month, and one convenience I've found with a taxi is that when you are leaving a venue like an airport or a basketball game or something, then it's pretty convenient to just be able to walk to the curb and hop in a car. And I found congestion problems like at the airport when you're waiting for an Uber with all these other people and you assign certain Ubers to certain people, then you have this congestion problem. I'm wondering if the Robotaxi network can solve that somehow so that after a baseball game, you can walk out to the curb and step into a taxi, a Robotaxi, and hopefully there'll be a long line of them. And you can just step in one, and the one that's closest to you, and take off in that car and put in your destination once you get inside or something, and it'll use your phone's Bluetooth to figure out who you are and how to charge you and everything. But I'm just wondering if there's a way to get around, assigning a certain car to a certain passenger so that they can solve those congestion issues that we see at the airports with Ubers. I've found it's the one advantage to a taxi is that you can just kind of walk to the curb, step in one, and then be on your way. So I'm hoping they can solve that problem. I wanted to know your thoughts. Thanks for the show again. Bye.
Good point here, David. I confess I had not considered this, but you know what? You're absolutely right. I suppose there might be some instances where that wouldn't work, like if you requested a specific vehicle for the rideshare, such as a Model X, because you needed to sit 6 people. Like you wouldn't want like a couple just hopping in your Model X first come, first served, while your group of 6 is still waiting for a car big enough to fit them. But I'm sure there's probably a way to solve for that while still getting people into cars after big events more quickly, and as you noted, ease the congestion and ease people's wait time. So, David, good thinking here, and hopefully Tesla is already taking this into account. Thank you very much for your call. I do appreciate it. And next up is John from West Virginia.
Hey, Ryan, this is John from West Virginia. Just wanted to call and let you know to check out Jay Leno's garage. He had Tello on there, T-E-L-O. It's a pickup truck the size of a Mini Cooper, but the bed size is comparable to the full-size trucks. So very interesting truck. I thought you might want to check it out. Have a good one. Bye.
John, thank you for this. This truck, officially the Tello MT1 with the MT standing for mini truck, it is funky looking. I mean, it's got no hood, kind of like the VW bus, or I guess maybe to use a current example, the Volkswagen ID Buzz. Meaning, of course, that the windshield is basically the forwardmost thing on the vehicle. It's got 4 doors, and as Jay Leno's Garage's description phrases it, it's, quote, the size of a Mini Cooper, meaning like the 4-door Countryman or whichever one's the 4-door, but packs the bed space of a Tacoma and up to 350 miles of range, end quote. Well, I checked out the Leno video and it's cool. I mean, it looks like this is one to keep an eye on. I mean, as always, the big question is, will it make it to market at all? But if it can, if it's able to do so, it certainly does look quite unique. Thank you, John, for calling in with that. Next up, longtime listener Brian from Pennsylvania. The floor is yours, sir.
Thanks, Ryan. A little behind here. Just finished the recap episode on Q1. I'm disappointed in you. You have not farted at anyone yet. You've not used the megaphone yet. I can't believe that. That is one of our most favorite features on the car. We do it all the time. We will sit in a parking lot. Parking garages are great to fart because it echoes really loud inside. But we'll wait for kids to go by, and we'll fart at them, and then we'll hit the megaphone and go, oh, that was juicy, or go check your shorts, man, or sorry, man, my car has gas. That's the only kind of gas my car has. We have all sorts of fun with this, and I'm always doing it to my kids, too. So you need to get on that. Have a great one. Thanks.
You know, Brian, I got to hand it to you. You're absolutely right. You're 100% right. I do need to start having more fun with this feature. I'm going to start by pranking my daughter with it. That's going to be the most fun because she and I like to crack jokes with each other. So I think she's going to be the one to subject to the whims of the pedestrian speaker. So thank you very much for the call and the fun suggestions here, Brian. I do appreciate it. Thanks as always for calling in. I've got 2 more calls lined up for you. The first of those is from Mark in Truckee, California. Mark, go ahead.
Hi, Ryan. Love the show. This is Mark from Truckee, California. Called about a year and a half ago about location on the trunk. Glad to say that I finally got the update that can set that height. But Bruce called last week about owning a 2020 Model Y, and then he turned it in for a 2023 Model Y. That's my case exactly, except I want to use the 2K loyalty dollars, and I'm trying to get an answer. Maybe you could put it out in the ether. Some Tesla shops say, yeah, we'll give you the $2,000. Some say you have to have the car, the original car. I got a text from Tesla about it and the email. So if anyone has been able to do it, I'd love to know. Doesn't seem to be a really definitive answer on that. Thank you so much, Ryan. Goodbye.
Hi, Mark. Well, I can see how not being able to get clarity on that is frustrating. So I am happy to put this out there to see if anybody else has some experience-based advice. And that's the key here. Experience-based advice, for Mark that might also help other listeners out. So Ride the Lightning audience. Every now and again, we do the, kind of ask the audience here, millionaire style, who wants to be a millionaire style. So do your thing, Ride the Lightning audience. Let's see if we can help Mark out on this one. And let's finish this week with a call from Luke on Long Island, helping out another listener, responding to Jay about FSD transfer, that call from last week. So Luke, go ahead.
Hi, Ryan. This is Luke on Long Island. I'm calling in response to Jay's question from last week about FSD transfer for his 2018 Model 3. He had said that he was going to potentially save $1,000 if he did FSD transfer because he already has enhanced autopilot. So I just wanted to make sure he understands that he's saving $6,000 by doing FSD transfer in this way. He already paid the $5,000 for enhanced autopilot, so that's going to stick with his car. You can't really transfer that. But if he upgrades to FSD on his current car for $2,000 and then does the FSD transfer, he spends $2,000, does FSD transfer, and gets the $8,000 value of the FSD package on his new AI4Y or Cybertruck or whatever he gets. So his car, his current 2018, would have enhanced an FSD removed from it, and it would just be stuck with basic autopilot, is my understanding. But I just wanted to make sure he understands the math there. That's not $1,000 he's saving; it's $6,000. All right, thanks. I love the show. Bye.
Great point, Luke. In fairness, he did pay $5,000 for enhanced autopilot back when he got it, and I know that because that's how much I paid for it back in 2018. I had ordered it with my car. I ended up adding FSD a little later myself, but yeah, it was $5,000 for enhanced autopilot back in 2018. So it's not quite as much of a steal as it initially appears, but still good value. Thank you for calling in to mention this. Thank you very much, I should say, to everybody out there that took the time to call in. I will get to more of your Ride the Lightning hotline phone calls on next week's podcast, so do keep them coming. I gave you the 2 easy call-in methods at the top of this segment. All right, now we talk about what's going on with me and my car. Just a little Ryan corner here. The Soul of Adventure. Well, the Soul of Adventure did not accompany me to Pittsburgh last weekend for my annual baseball trip with my uncles, but we had a great time. I'd never been to Pittsburgh. I was really impressed by the city. It was a beautiful city, great mix of new and old architecture. Love just having all these the 3 rivers converging there, and it's just the rolling hills kind of just beyond the downtown sight line, and we rode the Duquesne Incline. That was cool. The baseball stadium itself, PNC Park, every bit as good as advertised. Absolutely stellar stadium. I don't think I have any notes. I don't think I'd have anything I would complain about at that ballpark, other than, unfortunately, the Pirates owner not really putting any resources into the team, and the Pirates are just bad all the time, which it's not solely a money thing, but it's a bad owner is really a tough thing to overcome in professional sports. Anyway, had a great time in Pittsburgh. I certainly saw plenty of Teslas around downtown Pittsburgh. And even, I was surprised, I saw a Fisker Ocean, which only surprising. It's not that like Pittsburgh's some out of the way rural, little corner of the world, but there just aren't that many Fisker Oceans that ended up getting built and delivered and are out in the real world. So it's kind of a surprise seeing them anywhere, but it was in the Bay Area. We've got all these EVs. So here, every now and again, I see a Fisker, but it was a pleasant surprise to see one on the streets of downtown Pittsburgh as well. Now, as for my car, which I've named the Soul of Adventure, it is currently in service. They were not able to finish it today. I dropped it off yesterday, Thursday, so the repair is going to stretch to Monday. The goal here is to try and get the wind noise, the annoying whistling wind noise, finally squashed for good. And they had said they were going to try removing and then reseating the forwardmost roof glass to see if they could get the seals lined up. And hopefully that's all it is. Although the fact that it's taking longer than they said makes me think, I wonder if there's something else going on. But anyway, I guess I'll let you know on next week's podcast how things ended up turning out. But no big deal that they have my car for the weekend, because they did kindly give me a loaner. And I just wanted to mention it for a second because they kindly gave me a Quicksilver, which is my second choice, distant second, but certainly a clear-cut second choice for me after Ultra Red. But a Quicksilver new Model 3, a 2024 or 2025. So a new Model 3 long-range all-wheel drive with 18-inch wheels, just in case you're curious. Now, I realized as soon as I left the Tesla service center in this car, I was like, wait a minute. This is the first time I've ever driven the new Model 3 in anything but the performance version. Because as I think I had talked about a year ago or so now on the podcast, I had purposely not test driven the new Model 3 until the performance version came out, because I wanted to compare apples to apples with my first generation Model 3 performance. So I've done 2 test drives last year I did 2 test drives at different times in the new Model 3 performance, but it turns out I never drove any other one, because then I bought the new Model 3 performance myself back in December. And certainly the acceleration, the difference in acceleration, I mean, that's obvious, right? I mean, the performance car it goes instantly. Like as soon as you breathe on the pedal, it's gone. But what was also readily apparent that I kind of wasn't expecting was the difference in the suspension. It is much floatier in the non-performance car than it is in my car. And that's not a complaint, it's just a difference. It's just different. I mean, if I'd never driven the performance, it would feel totally fine. But just being used to the new Performance 3 and then hopping in a non-performance, I was like, wait, why does this feel? Oh, it's the suspension. Right, because Tesla actually put a unique suspension on the performance cars this time around, which they didn't do mostly on the Generation 1 Model 3 performance. The only difference in suspension in the Gen 1 version was the 1 centimeter lower ride height of the car. That was it. And then they even got rid of that after like 3 or 4 years. And then there was literally no difference for those last 2-3 years of the Gen 1 Model 3 performance. But anyway, my car, I would say, suspension-wise, it is noticeably more responsive. Again, not that the long-range all-wheel drive was bad by any means. Not saying that, but there was a very clear, noticeable difference in the suspension between the two cars. Here's an entertainment recommendation for this week, and I'm going to make a big statement right here about this piece of entertainment. And some of you may just yell at me through whatever device. You might be like, you're insane, Ryan. But I'm going to put this out there. Star Wars Andor, which I might have already recommended when Season 2 was kicking off. Well, we're like 2/3 of the way into Season 2 as I record this. I watched Episode 9 last night. They've been putting them out in 3-episode batches. So it's been 3 weeks, 9 episodes. And the first season was incredible. The first season was absolutely stellar. And now combined with this season, so taken as a 1 3/4 seasons of work, like a body of work, here's my big statement. I think Star Wars Andor might be the best Star Wars ever of anything. And better than any of the movies. And that's this. I know that's going to be sacrilege for some of you that are big fans of the original trilogy, the 4, 5, and 6. But I'm saying it. This show, if you haven't watched it, it is tremendously good. I mean, season 1 was incredible. Season 2 is better. It is wow. I mean, my jaw's on the floor. I can't wait to watch the last. I think it's 4 episodes. I think it's going to be 3 more this week, and then just the finale the week after. If I was looking it up, I think that's what it was. But anyway, if you haven't watched it and you are interested in Star Wars, my goodness, I could not recommend it more. Okay, back to Tesla here before I wrap things up. Here is your pro tip of the week. It comes from Basil in Toronto, and this goes out to all you Android users out there.
Hey Ryan, Basil here from Toronto, Canada with a pro tip for Android users. If you have an NFC-capable Android phone, you can unlock your Tesla by tapping your phone on the driver's side B-pillar, exactly as if you're using the physical keycard. This is handy for times when your car doesn't pick up your phone on Bluetooth, which for me still happens every once in a while. This tap to unlock feature is much faster than having to open your phone, opening a Tesla app, and then hitting the unlock button. You do of course need to have previously paired your Tesla app with the car for this to work. For me personally, this has always been a fail-safe way to get into my car whenever Bluetooth just doesn't want to work. And yes, you can also use this pro tip to start the car by placing it in the middle section once you're inside. Now, unfortunately, when I researched this online, this feature does not appear to work for iPhones due to a stubborn iOS restriction on third-party NFC access. But I wasn't able to test this myself, so curious to see if you or your listeners can get this to work for iPhone as well. Keep up the great work, Ryan. Take care.
Absolutely fantastic pro tip here, Basil. Thank you very, very much for this. This will be super helpful for the half of the people in the world or more that use Android. I feel like I think I saw this statistic fairly recently, and I believe in the US, the iPhone is comfortably the number one, like iOS versus Android, but globally, it's like either 50-50 or it's a majority Android. So it's almost like Xbox, like because by day I work at IGN and I'm kind of the Xbox guy. Like Xbox they over-index in the US relative to other regions, other countries. So anyway, good stuff for all of you Android users out there. I hope you'll be able to make use of that pro tip from Basil at some point in time. And if anybody else out there has a good Tesla pro tip of the week that you would like to share with me or your fellow Tesla owners and enthusiasts, and you know what? I'm going to open this up. I'm talking about, I'm happy to talk about other EVs now too. So if you've got a Rivian pro tip of the week, Lucid pro tip of the week, something else, hit me up. Why not? I mean, it's bound to help somebody out there. So if you have an EV pro tip of the week, I would love to hear it. And you can send it in the same way that you submit the regular Ride the Lightning hotline phone calls, which I told you about the 2 methods to submit those a little while ago. So send those in, and every week I play a new pro tip of the week. Before my voice completely gives way, I did want to mention a few friends of Ride the Lightning that hopefully can be of use to you sooner or later. AbstractOcean.com has been a friend of this podcast for a long time. I do encourage you to check it out. They've got so much great stuff. Like if you just click on, let's say Model Y. Let's just see what's going on for Model Y. There's of course the tempered glass screen protector custom fit, $50. That uses Gorilla Glass. That's awesome. They've got logo emblems in black if you just want to do the blackout look with your emblems. Ultra bright lights for interior and exterior. A full color animated center console LED light strip. That actually looks pretty cool. That's $85. There's also the puddle lights that shine the Tesla word mark or Tesla T logo on the ground. Those are $45. The performance pedals, the metal pedals that come in the performance version, you can pick those up for $20 if you want to put them in your car. They've also got the premium mud flaps for the 3 and the Y. Just, again, the point is all kinds of stuff. Take a look, abstractocean.com. Click on whichever Tesla or Rivian that you've got. It'll show you everything that's available for your vehicle, and anything that you like, throw it in your online shopping cart. And when you get to checkout, use the coupon code RTLPodcast to get 15% off of your first order. That coupon code again, RTLPodcast. That's all one word, no spaces. Meanwhile, the snap plate, as I was mentioning last week, it's in final development now for the new Model Y. And the reason it's been re-engineered is so that it doesn't block the view of the lower front bumper camera. So if you've got a new Y or are getting a new Y, keep your eye out for that new snap plate. And you do so on their website, which is everyamp.com/RTL. And then if you decide to purchase one of the snap plates, be it the regular one or the stronger Snap Plate Plus, make sure to use the coupon code RTL as well, and you'll get a nice little discount. This is the front license plate bracket that snaps on and off in seconds, but when it's on there securely. It's a nice, clean, minimalist design that blends in beautifully with the Tesla front end when it's installed and leaves no unsightly hardware behind when it's removed. Make those fix-it tickets go away for those of you who, like me, hate having to use a front license plate. If you're going to use one, I definitely recommend the snap plate. And then, of course, there's my friend Jeff, the owner and proprietor at Immaculate Reflections. Go to his website, irdetailing.com. You can see some of his work there. You can also browse his Instagram, which is Immaculate_Reflections, or he's on Yelp. There's a Yelp page if you want to take a look at customer reviews, yelp.com/Immaculate Reflections. Immaculate Reflections is just an incredibly talented, fantastic professional detailer here in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. So if you're here or going to be here with a car that you care about, whether it's your Tesla or something else, I definitely encourage you to reach out through the website, irdetailing.com. And when you do, mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, and any services, any detailing services that you have booked in, whether that's paint correction, ceramic coating, and or paint protection film on some or all of the car, you'll get a nice Ride the Lightning listener discount. The Patreon, I mentioned it a little earlier in the podcast, but I'd like to mention it again here. Patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. That is the place to go if you see it in your heart to show me some support for what I do here week in and week out. Even when my voice is pretty shot, I make sure I show up every week for you here on Ride the Lightning. I take a lot of pride in that, and I just, I'm happy to do it. It's fun, but it is also plenty of work. I probably should be resting my voice right now, but anyway, I'm not trying to guilt you into it. Just in all sincerity, I do show up every week. If you enjoy the show, if you get a lot out of this podcast every week, I would be humbled, I would be grateful if you would consider a Patreon pledge. Patreon's a safe, secure platform. There's so many creators that use it, authors, musicians, poets, podcasters, you name it. There's all kinds of creators on there. So you can sign up to support the podcast at any of the tiers. It starts at $5 a month. And for $5 a month, you will get early access each week, and you'll get the ad-free episode each week. If you step up to the $10 per month tier, which is the most popular one, you'll get both of those perks plus the entire archive, past, present, and future of those weekly lightning round bonus mini episodes that I mentioned earlier in the podcast. So again, the site is patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. You can follow me on X and or on Instagram if that is of interest to you. My username is the same on both. It's DMC_Ryan. You can email me anytime about Tesla or EV related things at teslapodcast@gmail.com. And I think that about wraps it up. All I've got to do before I get on out of here is say hello and thank you to the top tier Patreon backers. I'll start with the Maximum Plaid tier. I'm chatting with them tomorrow as I record this in our monthly Patreon Zoom hangout. So I hope to see and chat with a lot of these folks. The Maximum Plaid backers are Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Adam Christie, Damon Klein, Jeff Brown, Jerry Slinger, Clayton Goodfellow, Kenneth Corbett, Brian Bertoglio, and Kim Bay. You know what? Seeing Clayton Goodfellow's name there reminded me. He posted on the Patreon discussion group. There's kind of like there's like an open channel basically for anybody. It's like sort of a chat thing on Patreon. I never mentioned that, but it's there. It's like anybody that joins the Patreon gets access to that. And Clayton was wondering about curb rash repair kits, if there's such a thing. If any of my friends on Patreon know of anything that can repair curb rash on a wheel, please go check out that open discussion and see if you can help Clayton out on that. The Roadster in Space tier. These folks get all the perks, plus the cherry on top, the extra perk they get is the one-on-one hangout with me each month if they elect to choose it. And it's always great to talk to these folks. So thank you so much to Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Kara Weston, Robert from near Philly, American Home Contractors, Doug Carey, Michael Gallo, and Tony Figueroa. And lastly, the grandfathered in Plaid supporters. Big thanks for your continued support to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk in quotes, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado, BAER. Thanks to all of you at all the Patreon tiers. Your support, and I'm speaking from the heart right now, your support really means a lot to me and my family. I'm as sincere as can be. I mean, I don't take it for granted. So thanks to all of you that are kind enough to support me here on, not here on Patreon, but on Patreon. Some of you may be listening to this on Patreon. Anyhow, that will do it here for episode 510 of Ride the Lightning. Hopefully, I'm pretty confident my voice will be fully recovered in a week from now for next week's show. I sure hope so. Hope I'm not going to sound like this for a whole week. But again, I do apologize for how not great that I sound. This was, I get a lot of people, like, what am I trying to say here? The one compliment that I've gotten over the years, because, like, I'm not a good-looking guy. I'm not, there's a lot of things I'm not. But the one gift that I was blessed with, according to many people who've said it over the years, is a great radio voice. And I don't have that right now. It is temporarily unavailable. So I want to thank all of you for bearing with me on this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as you could through the raspiness and the grating. But again, I will be back, hopefully full strength, next week with you for episode 511. Until then, for Daisy the Boxer, who's somewhere out in the living room, and for Zelina the service dog, who I'm so happy she is right on the floor next to me right now. I love this dog so much. And her family, I wish... I'm not going to spend any more time... Like, I'm gonna end the podcast here, but getting to know her family and what she does for that family, it's amazing. This dog is... I'm so glad we could be a part of her journey towards really helping a family out. I'm so grateful to have this dog in our house for a short while right now. She's awesome. And of course, for Lily, the silly Labrador puppy, who is bitey as can be. My goodness. It's just a phase, of course, but those little razor puppy teeth are... I've got some cuts on my hands and ankles to prove it, but she has been a sweetheart. She's been awesome so far. It is fun canine times in the McCaffrey house this week. So happy electric motoring to all of you. Be well, and I'll see you back here next week.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.